Welcome to the Bare Metal Cyber Security Plus podcast. This series helps you prepare for the CompTIA Security Plus exam with focused explanations and practical context. For a companion study guide, check out the Achieve CompTIA Security Plus 701 Exam Success by Dr. Jason Edwards. It is the most concise and complete Security Plus guide on the market, built for busy professionals who want to pass the exam fast and on their first try. You can find this book and others at cyberauthor.me. Security governance is more than just policies and procedures. Behind the scenes, every successful governance program depends on a clear structure of rules and responsibilities. In this episode, we will explore the types of governance structures that guide cybersecurity decision-making within organizations. We will look at the roles of boards and committees, the influence of government entities, and the differences between centralized and decentralized governance. Understanding these foundational structures is critical for passing the Security Plus exam and for understanding how security decisions are made in real environments. Let's begin with the roles of boards and committees. In many organizations, cybersecurity governance starts at the top. Boards of directors and executive-level committees play a key role in setting the tone for how seriously security is taken and how resources are allocated to protect data and systems. These governing bodies do not manage day-to-day operations. Instead, they provide oversight, define strategic priorities, and hold senior leaders accountable for risk management outcomes. Boards may create specialized committees to focus on cybersecurity, risk, or compliance. These committees typically receive regular updates from the Chief Information Security Officer or other security leaders. They may review incident reports, audit findings, regulatory requirements, and proposed security investments. Their job is to make sure that security initiatives align with the organization's mission, that they are properly funded, and that the risks are being communicated clearly to stakeholders. A good example of board-level influence can be seen in the financial sector. Many large banks have dedicated cybersecurity committees within their boards. These committees meet quarterly to review threat intelligence, evaluate progress on security projects, and assess whether the organization is meeting its regulatory obligations. When a serious incident occurs, the committee is involved in reviewing the response and ensuring that corrective actions are taken. This type of top-level involvement shows that security is not just a technical issue, it is a business priority. Now let's discuss the role of government entities in shaping organizational security practices. Governments influence security governance in many ways. They create laws, publish regulations, and issue frameworks that define how organizations must protect data and respond to incidents. In some cases, government agencies also provide guidance, tools, and resources to help organizations strengthen their defenses. One example is the National Institute of Standards and Technology, which publishes the cybersecurity framework and many other resources used by both public and private sector organizations in the United States. These frameworks provide structured guidance on identifying, protecting, detecting, responding to, and recovering from cyber threats. While not always mandatory, these frameworks are often adopted voluntarily because they reflect industry best practices and are frequently referenced by regulators and auditors. Other government entities, such as data protection authorities, have enforcement powers. In countries covered by the General Data Protection Regulation, regulators can audit organizations, investigate breaches, and issue fines for non-compliance. In the United States, agencies like the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Department of Health and Human Services play similar roles in their respective sectors. Their influence ensures that organizations take security governance seriously, not just to protect assets, but also to avoid legal and financial penalties. A real-world example of government influence occurred when a major retailer suffered a data breach that exposed millions of customer records. After the breach, a government agency launched an investigation and found that the company had failed to follow its own security policies. As a result, the company was fined and required to submit to ongoing security audits. This external oversight led the company to completely restructure its governance model, create a dedicated risk committee, and implement a new reporting chain for the security team. The outcome was a more mature and accountable security program driven by both internal and external governance structures. Now let's examine the difference between centralized and decentralized governance models. These two approaches describe how authority and decision-making responsibilities are distributed across the organization. In a centralized model, most security decisions, tools, and processes are managed by a central security team. Policies are created at the top and enforced across all departments. This approach allows for consistency, easier oversight, and standardization of control. Centralized governance is often used in organizations that value uniformity, such as government agencies, national banks, or large enterprises with tightly controlled risk environments. With centralized governance, it is easier to manage compliance, reduce duplication, and respond quickly to incidents because all teams are working from the same playbook. In contrast, decentralized governance distributes responsibility across different business units, departments, or regions. Each part of the organization may have its own security team, its own budget, and even its own policies or tools. This approach allows greater flexibility and responsiveness to local needs, but it can also lead to inconsistency, gaps in coverage, or difficulties in maintaining a unified strategy. A practical example helps illustrate this contrast. Imagine a global manufacturing company with regional offices in North America, Europe, and Asia. In a centralized model, a single corporate security team would define policies, select security tools, and handle incident response across all regions. All offices would follow the same procedures, regardless of local variations. In a decentralized model, each regional office might have its own information security officer, who customizes policies based on local regulations, language needs, and cultural expectations. While this allows for local control, it can make it harder to coordinate during global incidents or audits. Many organizations take a hybrid approach. They centralize high-level strategy and policy development, but allow decentralized execution and adaptation. This model is especially useful for balancing consistency with flexibility. For example, a centralized team might define a baseline password policy, while individual departments are allowed to add stricter requirements based on their sensitivity or risk exposure. As you prepare for the Security Plus exam, be ready to identify the characteristics of each governance structure. You may encounter questions that describe a scenario and ask whether it reflects centralized or decentralized governance. Pay attention to who makes decisions, how policies are enforced, and whether operations are standardized or tailored. Here is a useful tip for this exam section. When the scenario mentions efficiency, consistency, or uniform policy enforcement, the correct answer may point toward centralized governance. When the scenario emphasizes flexibility, regional adaptation, or local control, the best match is likely decentralized governance. Recognizing these traits will help you quickly narrow down your answer choices. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bare Metal Cybersecurity Plus podcast. For more episodes, tools, and study support, visit us at baremetalcyber.com. And before you take the test, make sure to check out the practice questions in the book Achieve CompTIA Security Plus SY0-701 Exam Success by Dr. Jason Edwards. They cover every domain and are a powerful way to lock in your knowledge.